All right, we are live again. All right, so today we are doing episode 3 for the Metalgate Band podcast. Jen, as always, is here. We are going to have a guest here in a little while, Jeanie Keebler of the Goat Herd Gods, band from Canada. And she just wants to pop in, have us ask her a few questions, and we'll move on from there. But the first thing I wanted to bring up, which I don't like to run away from criticisms, so I've gotten plenty. That's me as personally, and then also just the idea of Metalgate has been criticized as well. I just want to try to address some of it. First of all, no group or movement or whatever you want to call it is free from criticism. So if you want a healthy environment, I think you have to address a lot of it. So some of these trolls and people have great points. You just have to be willing to look past them harshing your fucking mellow and see what they're fucking saying. One of the things that Jim actually brought up to me before we started was that we're defeating our own purpose by sometimes we'll talk about like where the line is for free speech, but at the same time stand up and say, hey, we're all about free speech, right? But that's a tough argument to make because if you're sitting, I know it's cliche as fuck to talk about it, and it's pissed me off before, but free speech is a bitch, all right? So just bear with me. You're in the fucking theater, a guy stands up and says, I have a bomb or I have a gun. Wouldn't you beat the fucking shit out of that person if you could? If you were sitting right next to it, if he stood up and said that? So, I mean, is there really free speech, like completely unfettered, or is it dictated by consequences? Very, very interesting topic. So, Jim, would you say you agree with some of this criticism that we're maybe defeating our own purpose?
I will say it at times it sounds like it to me, but that's just because I come from a place where like I will sit there and just talk about tying someone to a chair, cutting off their eyelids and forcing them to watch while I murder their family, force feed them their remains through a tube, and then fucking saw off their arms and fucking cut out their voice box, ship them off to the hospital so they could spend the rest of their lives there, living the nightmare over and over again in their head.
But you've never done it.
I've never done it, but, you know, I guess people might find that, well, I know people find it freaky whenever I fucking talk about shit like that. It's just, you know, this is just how I am. That's like one of the things I'll talk about and just rant on and on about, and I'll go into detail like, oh, you know, this is, you know, there's two things.
As a result of that, are we saying then that anybody you tell about that is now like responsible for the outcome? Like they heard you say you're going to tie someone down to a chair, so thus they shouldn't act on it until they have proof you're going to do it, or they should act on it right there and then stop.
I mean, if it looks like I'm going to do it, then maybe act on it.
There should be a little bit of
evidence. I mean, to me, there has to be like an actual action behind it. I mean, I've had lots of people tell me that they were going to fucking stab me in the face, but, you know, I said, go ahead and try it, and they never did.
Well, sure, yeah. Yeah, it's all about what happens in the situation. The consequences kind of change as new developments happen. So really consequences can't always dictate your action to what someone says, right? But if you're in a theater, just to bring up the cliche, because it's easy to talk about, everybody has heard that kind of shit before. If you saw the gun and he fucking stood up and said it, wouldn't you stop him? Like,
not really. I'd wait to see if he had anything that looked like a triggering device on him or any explosives. I would take a glance at least to see if it looked like he might be concealing something. If it actually looked like he might be concealing something, or if he had a detonator in hand or something, you know, then I would do something then. But if he just said it, you know, because I've had friends fucking say similar shit and I just fucking laughed at them.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
You know, and not hell, even random people in the streets saying shit, you know. So it's just the world that, you know, the way I see it. It's like I have to actually see, is there actual intent here? Are they going to do it? Is there some sort of circumstance to make me believe what they're saying is what they're going to do?
So what if they do it and you didn't stop?
Well, then it's my bad. Oh, well, I mean.
Now, knowing, like, situations like this have happened in reality in the past in history. I'm sure someone could find something similar that happened, was brought up in the news, where someone was in a public area, said they were going to do something fucking horrible, and they went ahead and did it. So knowing that, is it not wise to then think ahead? Like,
well, I've seen a lot of people say they're going to do shit in public, especially under anonymous, like, pseudonyms online, especially online, and they fucking never do it.
Online.
I mean, I need something more proof, like, for me to totally act. I mean, if it looks like it's intricately detailed or something, then I might decide to say, here, FBI, look at this. But, like, if it's just like someone saying, I'm just going to shoot a bunch of people here, I just take it as fucking typical shit talk.
Absolutely. Yeah, the internet's completely different because you're not in the arena. Like, you could be plotting a legitimate fucking thing on the internet. Sure, I'm sure people do. And
yeah.
if people can figure that out and prove that they're actually plotting and practicing and fucking being all terrorists and shit, then yeah, you could probably go stop them. It wouldn't bother me if you did that.
I mean, to me, it would definitely, I'd have to see something where it looked like there was an actual plot going on.
Yeah, you'd have to prove it.
And I mean, something that looks like it was at least somewhat being in the planning stages, that maybe I should pay a little bit of heed to that. Otherwise, you know, it's just shitting in the wind.
Okay, so the criticism then is that we're defeating our own purpose by setting any kind of limit to someone saying something. So taking action against somebody for saying something. I think there is a legitimate limit, but it's not where people want it to be. You have to have certain things happen before. Well, I personally, I'll just speak for myself, need to have certain conditions before I act on things that people say, right? Like you're saying, you've heard people plenty of times say stupid shit, never do it, especially online.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, so 99% of the time, I'm not going to really react. But if I see strong enough evidence that this person's probably going to go do something, then absolutely, I'll fucking try something to stop them. You know, I'll put a limit there. So I myself limit other people's kind of expression, but it's not their expression I'm limiting. It's their actual intent to do harm to others for probably what amount to bullshit reasons. You know, so it's not really like I'm the government saying, you can't say that. It's more along the lines of, you can go ahead and say that and do what you're going to do, but eventually someone's going to stop you or try to stop you, right? So, there's going to be a limit to your expression eventually, right? Like someone's going to...
With me, though, my threshold's probably a bit higher than others. Like I said,
we're talking about thresholds here. Like, what can people put up with? And I think modern society is way too weak when it comes to things like that. Like, even trying to censor artists, and most recently, like internet news-wise, it was in Canada, I forget what city, but where the girl got banned from the Expogate. I mean, it's just ridiculous, just for having a different opinion to the status quo. She got banned and had the cops called on the group and everything. They were Gamergate affiliated. So that just shows you that a certain portion of the population is just way hypersensitive when it comes to controversy or maybe offensive material, like offensive artwork or risque.
Well, I don't even think in a lot of cases I've been noticing lately that it's not even fucking just being offensive. It's having a differing point of view, period. They want a monologue instead of a dialogue or debate.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right about that. So therefore, their threshold is way lower than anything to do with offensive artwork and shit like that.
Yeah.
They're already assuming that they're just right and fuck you. You know, we're going to call the cops on you for disagreeing with us.
Yeah, pretty much.
Insane. Like, well, anyways, so I don't think Metalgate really exists as, sorry, let me try to catch up to myself here. The criticism again is that we're making limits on people's free speech at times, But all I'm really doing, just speaking for myself, is pointing out that there's consequences to words and actions. And it just depends on the way things play out, on how you're going to react to it. So there's just this kind of reality-based, not human moral limit to free speech. Just the way nature weaves in and out of itself, and that you're a part of it. Sometimes you have to defend yourself from absurd shit. And that's kind of what we're doing with SJWs, is you are I'm not a genius, but even I know you are absolutely insane for calling the police on people who disagree with you, or for any other thing that had to do with someone just putting out an idea. Now, if you can prove that they were actually fucking going out to hurt people, then you might change my mind. But until then, stop your whining. Really, just chill the hell out. You're going to get people hurt. You're dangerous. You're dangerous to society because you're in this rigid ideology where if someone disagrees with you, they should go to prison or they should go to jail or get in trouble. It's ridiculous. This is not people screaming bomb in a crowded theater. This is people trying to have a reasonable dialogue with you. And I'm speaking to the social justice lords out there and your minions or whatever you want to call yourselves. You're just hypersensitive and you react histrionically to people to the point where it seems like you're just begging for attention. And when we give it to you, it's never good enough. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Well, I might not be the metalhead everybody wants, but I did this for metalheads. So if you have criticisms of it, you're fucking more than welcome. Just go to the Facebook group. And I want to get it off Facebook. I want it to take off. But it's not really up to me. I'm going to be a family man soon. I have a full-time job. So, I mean, you can criticize all you want. Yeah, you're more than welcome. Fine. But unless you actually come have the dialogue, then you're just barking up a tree with nobody in it, So I just wanted to kind of address any of that. Is there any other kind of criticisms you've seen, Jim?
Not on my end, really. That was the only thing I saw. And one thing I do want to clarify, though, is that some of the things I have seen online have been like, okay, this is how to make a bomb, but not actually telling people to go out and how to do it. And some people say, well, this is like exits to this building and shit, and all this. And it's like, okay, I see where this could be information, but I don't really give a shit. Because, it's just random info out there. To me, there's a difference between random info and actually plotting to use said info, saying, go here, do this, do that, and fucking do everything. And even then, I have to take into context, is this person actually talking out their ass or not? Because I do a lot of talking out my ass when it comes to shit like that.
Fuck me too, dude. I have to. I'm a newbie. Dude, I have to talk a bunch of shit and get to know what's going on before I can actually have any kind of authority. I just share my bullshit.
Well, I was talking more on the whole entire, this could be a potential threat thing. I mean, to me, like I said, there has to be definite evidence that this is a fucking plot, not just someone talking out their ass.
So there needs to be a reasonable...
There has to be...
ability to discern such things, right?
Yeah.
You can't just start calling the cops on people and shit.
I mean, if this was like something like, okay, this is fucking definitely the work of a homebrew terrorist because
Satan!
I can see...
It's Satan!
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. It really has to fucking reek of, okay, this is way too evolved to just be someone talking out their ass.
Right.
I mean, I've seen some fairly decent shit, but no one's actually posted something that actually reeked. I mean, in all my time on the internet, I haven't actually seen something, regardless of how planned it looked. It always just seemed like someone's talking out their ass because, well, I took everything into context and you could see where the context lied, and it's done in a public forum. And the person seemed like they were with it enough to realize, hey, I'd fucking go to jail for this, or, there's no need for me to do this, and I've seen the writings of people reading up on different mass murderers and shit over the years where I could tell a little bit of a difference that yeah, this person's not going to be entirely with it. I haven't seen that in the context as bumping into something online.
No, right? Yeah, like so. We use YouTube and Facebook. We might go to darknet every once in a while. And me not being a hacker of any kind, and probably pissing off a lot of true hackers when I say shit like that. But my point is, I'm sure shit happens, right? Like negative shit, like really horrible, fucking gross shit happens because of the internet. But that happens whether or not there's the internet. So you can't blame the internet. It's human behavior. It's human conditions. Like, I don't know if people seem to realize that, but the kind of people we're trying to persuade or talk to here, is that there's just, I don't know, it's not trying to blame them for saying something. It's when you can prove it, stop their ass or shut up, but don't point your finger at someone who's just talking some shit, Don't call the police on someone who's just shit posting on the internet. That's too hypersensitive for me, for my taste, and that's kind of why I got involved with Gamergate and started up Metalgate. So that's just me trying to address that criticism. I think another one I've seen is that unless the bands themselves are into it, then it's really not going to take off. And I kind of see what they're saying, but at the same time, this is more about the fans of the music as opposed to the artists. Artists should get involved, absolutely. I mean, if they want to, fucking go for it. But this is more about the consumers, right? This isn't. It's the same with Gamergate. And Gamergate's its effect on the industry is because it was the hardcore gamers, the people who buy all the shit that keeps the industry going. And just coming into heavy metal in 2015 after 29 years of existence, when I look back, it looks way more metal from back in the day, like way more metal back in the day, as opposed to today, where you don't see really brazen heavy metal, out there all the time. You have to really look for it nowadays.
Well, my main thing with the whole Metalgate thing is the fact that I see the trends and what the hell they're trying to do to censor, and that is go after the venues and the fucking labels and music sharing sites and shit like that, trying to get things pulled from, actually being seen at all. And
so wouldn't it be important to have a consumer kind of based thing where the fans of that band who are being threatened to be canceled because they're going to threaten the venues, wouldn't it be nice to have a group of people who say, hey, look, these people, just to tell the venue and maybe even the police in that area that, hey, look, these people throw out this shit all the time, all kinds of different people, because they think they're oppressing them. Like maybe listen to them, but we're just letting you know that they're kind of crazy. And we can prove it. We have evidence of this behavior over and over again, trying to silence people just for disagreeing with them and stuff. That's why these movements get started.
See, once again, this goes back to what I said about the weak shall perish, the strong will thrive. Especially within metal music, that's the way it's always been with the bands themselves. There's no guarantee that the fucking venue is going to follow in that suit. And what's going to guarantee that band's going to find another venue to play at or another fucking label to go with if things go sour because someone got all fucking pissy.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, the weak and strong argument. Yeah, and these people are ruining potentially really strong bands from doing any business just by being annoying, whining little cunts about shit. And they're almost like religious fundamentalists. Screaming, Satan, it's Satan! It's the devil.
Exactly.
But it's more along, they don't agree with our policies or whatever, so attack! They're crazy. But most of us, I think, are just normal people who don't want to get all crazy about shit, I mean, we like to get crazy about the things we're passionate about, like heavy metal or video games. But I'm not out to hurt anybody over it. Jesus fucking Christ, Well,
maybe in the pit, but that's a different story.
Okay. Yeah, that's under those circumstances, though, right?
Yeah, you're just into the music, loving it, and there's a bunch of other people loving it, and you get smacked in the face a few times, a couple shoulders, knock
Yeah.
the ground, pick back up, and do it again.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So, anyways, I just wanted to bring that up. I know that there's probably really good, intelligent other criticisms we haven't heard. I'd love to hear them. I don't mind if we get grade A trolled. I like we were talking about, you seeing things on the internet that were convincing, but not totally convincing. So, like, it didn't really make you react to it to take action against them. I saw this, and I love a good conspiracy theory. And I saw this training video for the Illuminati Corp or whatever. It was so well done. Like, whoever made that, bravo. I know it's just bullshit, but it makes a great point. The whole premise of it makes a really good argument that, yeah, there does seem to be some people on the planet who are able to redirect resources and shit in their favor. They're not total control, but they're just better at managing shit than most people, I guess you could say. Just to bring that up. I know it's bullshit, but I'm not going to freak out over it and call them stupid for believing in conspiracy theories. It's just let it exist. It's a piece of art. It's just expressing an idea. I'm not going to freak out about people posting shit on the internet unless it's really something going down.
I think a good point was made about the whole threats coming in. Usually, ones that people follow through with are made in private.
Right. They're not going to go tell the whole world about it.
Very seldom do you see something very rarely, and the person has to be fucking deranged to even do it, to fucking post it, publicly and then follow through. Everything is pretty much, they post to you in private, and that's when you might want a little bit of concern there.
Absolutely. So, how do you discern shit posting from a legitimate fucking thread? Like, what all do you need to prove that they're not just talking shit?
Usually naming names and fucking locations. That's usually what it takes for me. Like, they literally have to know me and what the fuck my routine is every day. Because I don't really post my routine. And very few people know exactly who in my friends list I'm actually really close with and who I'm not. Maybe aside from my girlfriend and mother.
So, who was that kid? School shooting. I think it was last year, the year before. Hated women, like an actual misogynist. What was that kid's name?
I fucking forget his name. He wasn't worth my time.
Yeah.
Because like what he was doing was
he actually did post beforehand that he was going to do something.
Yeah, and honestly,
it was on the spur of the moment too. So the chances of people seeing it on time and responding to it was null and void, because he did it almost immediately afterwards, like the day afterwards, I think.
I think this is what kind of leads in their fear overall, just having such a lowered threshold of shit talking, is because his shit actually just did read as like a typical shit post to me, and then like he went out and fucking did it.
That's crazy to think about, because you could be reading something sometimes and not do anything about it, and there they went. Off they went, But how can anyone blame you for not knowing the difference? I mean, it's so chaotic and complex that.
Well, I honestly would have just erred on the side of caution there and ignored it myself.
Yeah.
But that's because I see shit like that all the time and no one ever fucking follows through. That was like one time out of like 10,000.
Right. Like it's rare that someone actually goes out and does a big horrible thing like that. I mean, it happens.
It actually declares it publicly beforehand,
Oh, it's even more rare. And that's a problem society's always dealt with. And any is too much, but at the same time, you can't allow that fact of society to infringe on the rights of other people. Like, you can't just assume, you know, you got to know what you're doing and dealing with, you know, before you actually go in and like hurt somebody. People who like, to me, it was inevitable that like the whole swatting thing. Like, holy shit.
That's just complete bullshit there.
Isn't it?
And you got fucking hyper-responsive cops. Fucking, oh, God.
Dude.
Fucking, just how close,
I'm telling you, that
just how much of a police state we're fucking in is fucking, kid gets shot holding a fucking Wii remote.
That, to me, is the scariest thing about the internet, is swatting. That is the scariest thing about going on the internet and doing something like this. Some crazy fuckhead gets pissed off at what you're saying and pulls that on you. You could end up getting killed easily.
Mm-hmm.
Like, say you're sleeping, they come in and you say, "What the fuck?" Like, you sound really pissed off. Trigger happy cop, you're done. Dude.
Like I was saying, the kid was shot fucking dead holding a Wii remote.
Yes, I mean,
like last year or sometime. That was like fucking okay. What, he just answered the door and Wii remote does not look like a gun.
Absolutely not. Oh, they'll just shoot your dog and shit. I know that the law says that pets are just property, but in reality, they're part of your family. Like, they just are. And to just brazenly shoot your dog like that without any fucking apologies or anything, no repayment, nothing, just dog shoot it, you know. The state is heartless like that. Like, if it deems you as good, you're done.
Just getting political off this for a moment here. It's like fucking people like to fucking scream racism. Racism, it would just be a motive if it's in there at all. Okay. And I know racism exists. I've had racist friends in the past. Fucking, I know damn well it fucking exists. How systemic it is, I honestly can't say. I highly doubt it's as systemic as a lot of people play it to be. But that's just a motive. What enables the cops to do this? And that is having the laws structured to protect the cops and not the innocent.
Right. Like, I understand that mistakes are going to happen and that the guy who made the mistake might just be a good guy who made a real honest mistake with horrible consequences, like killing somebody on accident.
But sometimes it's just fucking paranoia playing in, you know. It's like
there has to be accountability. Was my point on that.
Yeah, and they're kind of lacking that accountability.
Absolutely.
And that's what, and no one's like really addressing that. They're all fucking flocking to racism. That's motive. What enables them? Lack of accountability. Let's focus on that, and that'll cure it, because if they're held accountable, that doesn't matter how fucking racist the cop is, because they're not going to be able to fucking do it without facing stiff consequences.
You know, they attach cameras and shit to him now, and at first I thought it was a good idea, but all it's going to do is just give more cop fear, you know, cop propaganda. Like, fear these guys, because they'll just shoot your ass, you know. That's all it's going to do. It's a human thing that goes on, where they're not held accountable, so therefore they just think they can get away with anything. Like, you have to have some standards there for these people. They're responsible for the safety of the people around them, and they're out here shooting people on the whim getting away with it, you know? So there has to be accountability, absolutely.
All right.
What's going on, Jeanie? Sorry for the rant you walked into there.
Hey.
How's it going?
Good.
It's going great. All right, cool. So did you get any of that, what we were just talking about?
No.
No? Yeah, we run off on some tangents there. So this is Jeanie Keebler here. She's got a band, Her Gods, and I invited her on because she came into the Facebook group and posted a few times, has a band, she's on YouTube. I'll put some links in the description of the video after we're done here. So Jeanie, how's it going?
Still good. Bit nervous. First live interview.
Oh, well, you don't have to be nervous. There's nobody going to hurt you here.
We're mainly just sitting here BSing anyway. That's the way the show usually runs anyway.
Well, you won't end up in the ER at least. So I just wanted to ask her some questions here. And we kind of talked beforehand, and I think she's got an interesting band going on up there, interesting thing going on.
Yeah, I actually took some time before the show to go over the tracks on your YouTube channel, and I gotta say I really dig Unrepentant and Siege. Beneath the Trees, Scourge, and Tiamat are also pretty good. In Times of Peace is like kind of cheery and like this weird contrast kind of way with everything else. And just to be honest here, the other three tracks just sound like something I'd have in the background playing while I was running a D&D campaign.
Nice. Nothing wrong with that at all.
No, I like to play it in the background actually when I'm playing video games myself.
Right on. Right on. So you do listen to your own music. That's good, I think.
Yeah, it's a good way to nitpick at yourself, try to get better too.
Hell yeah. I've actually heard people say that they're not interested in their own creations. Like they just make it and go.
That's
That
weird.
always seemed bizarre to me. Yeah. So, what sort of art kind of inspired you to get into making music, or just art in general? Do you know?
What sort of art inspired me? I'm not
Or
sure.
into it?
Well, anything dark, the dark arts.
Okay. Any artists that you would recommend to people?
Like as in visual artists or
Sure.
well, I like Hieronymus Bosch. Anything really kind of dark and bizarre. So, I mean,
So, how dark here? Are we talking like just like monsters and stuff, or more psychological stuff?
I think there's always an element of psychology in monster stuff, you know what I mean? Like
Right.
HR. I think it's pronounced GJ, but like I'm Canadian, so I'll say Geiger.
I always say Geiger,
I
so
want to say
Yeah.
Geiger too.
It's probably not right, but
Probably not. Right. You're right. You're right. It's probably not.
but
But yeah,
anyway.
I've always loved him. The Alien that he created, that was like the first horror movie I saw growing up, and I was truly like, especially as a more gullible child, really truly terrified when I first saw that thing. It's seriously like I wasn't always really scared by ghosts and stuff because it didn't seem logical to me. But an
Yeah.
alien kind of made more sense. And
Anything that could be true, that's what's scary.
oh yeah, something that could really physically threaten your existence. Yeah,
Yep.
that's what real terror has always been to me. Not about ooh spooky ghosts, No, it's something more elemental, something that can actually hurt you.
Yeah.
So, do you, and this maybe I'll ask that one a little bit. We'll get into that later. Do you identify with music that's not metal at all, like at all? No metal at all. No rock, nothing. Just any other kind of music that you identify with?
Well, actually, I like music from the Baroque period, so Bach is really ultimate, and some rock too, hard rock.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I'm not so much into the classical stuff. I like when I listen to it. I couldn't tell you anything about it though.
Yeah, I'm pretty particular about it. Like, I like Bach and, others similar to him, like in the same time period, like Handel and things. Not really into classical as such.
Well,
And I
see,
like really, really early music too, like Gregorian chant and, weird old things.
oh, that's it. Yeah, well, that's part of the music history. So, I mean, if you're gonna be a musician, you should probably know that shit.
Yeah, well, anything that seems just like really genuine and true, I can kind of get into. I don't like necessarily buy it and listen to it, but I can appreciate most things actually.
In passing, yeah.
Yeah.
In passing, I think art's a little bit easier to digest because you don't get so wrapped up and have some time to think about it. But anyways, what is the next? Sorry. What do you think about social justice? Is it kind of like a religion?
Uh, it's funny because obviously social justice itself is a good thing, but people going around, threatening other people with their ideas of what is just
So
is
it's the threat,
completely
right?
wrong. and that's probably what you're talking about.
It's the threat, absolutely. I mean, there's labels that you can attach to movements and beliefs and good ideas and bad ideas, but it's the threat that people are against. That's why people start movements, is usually because of legitimate threat. But do you think social justice as an idea is good, but then it, like with almost everything that becomes big, like almost becomes corrupt from the center and just...
Yeah, so of course social justice is a good thing, but I think when people, basically believe that the end justifies the means, then it gets scary, because that's just like, any totalitarian movement, whether it was, Nazi Germany or anything, where, they thought they were doing good, and damn the consequences, damn anybody else that doesn't fit the mold.
Right. It always surprises me that people don't understand that, because I myself have done shit like that just with people in my life, like where I thought I was kicking ass and being awesome, but really I was just being a shithead, like. So why is it any surprise to imagine that people are dumb enough to get in big groups and start believing this stupid shit and going out and hurting people over it, thinking they're, godly and good?
I think that's been the problem, especially with the internet, is the mob mentality. It's all of a sudden people get behind things without thinking about them or the true consequences of them.
Speaking on that, that's what's going to happen with Metalgate eventually. It happens with everything. Like, I don't think you can avoid it. Like,
could be true.
I don't think you can. So you have to be willing to let go of shit. Like, there's a certain point where, for me at least, where unless you're physically threatening me, I'm not going to give a shit eventually. I'm just going to drop it. So.
That's right.
It's one of those things where I say a tad bit of introspection is necessary just to make certain that you're doing what is right, as opposed to just blindly following.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like, I would go against Metalgate if I thought it was truly, even though I helped grow the damn thing, I seriously would. Though. If I saw some, like, really seriously horrible shit going on because of something I did, of course I can change my mind.
Well, yeah, everything should be taken on a case-by-case basis. So, things should be constantly evaluated and reevaluated.
Absolutely. What's wrong with asking the question?
Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with, like, when thought crime becomes a real thing, that's when I get concerned.
Well, it is becoming real, and that's the scary thing we're talking about here. Like, just the other day, like we were just talking earlier about the girl who got the police and shit called on her for questioning a panel of feminists.
Oh, gee.
Did you see that, Jeanie? Yeah.
I watched that video.
That's so crazy. Like, it saddens me.
Yeah.
Like, really? Like, we're that weak? We're there now?
Yeah.
I mean, it's
speechless almost. Like,
to me, it's always been that there is no actual progress towards solving any problems without the course of debate.
Right.
So you need those opposing sides to see, okay, where is the logical middle ground, or is middle ground actually possible?
Is middle ground maybe even harmful? There might be situations where you have to go against the status quo, the agreement.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So it's not this cookie cutter thing that social justice, nowadays at least, wants to present things as. Like, you are white, so therefore this. You are black, so therefore this. They are so redundantly doing this over and over and over and over and over and over. And it's just giving everyone a headache,
Yeah. Yeah, the identity politics thing really, really has grown old. And I find it's actually a really bigoted way to look at the world. You're not looking at everyone as individuals. People are, I don't like being put in this box. I don't like people saying, oh, well, you're something, so therefore. They don't know a thing about me. They have to know me before they can decide, what's how to treat me, you know.
It's scary to think that there's people who get funding and like some decorum of authority over you who think this way about you. It's kind of scary.
Yeah,
Right?
it is. Yeah.
One of the things that I've really noticed with this whole identity politics thing is people speaking on behalf of an entire group of people.
Oh,
Exactly. I hear them say, as a woman. It's like, okay, well, you're trying to speak for all women now. As a man, I'm speaking for all men now. As, white, black, as this, you're trying to transpose saying, I'm speaking for the group as opposed to speaking for yourself and your own experiences.
Right, and that's bad enough. And then there's also people who are out there getting offended on behalf of other groups that they sympathize with.
That's kind of, I have to admit, that's kind of a criticism that I've gotten because I'm this newbie guy, right? So I'm getting offended for metalheads. And one of the best criticisms I've gotten is that, hey, dude, we don't need your fucking help. And that came from Shane Mathis, actually. We don't need your help. We've been doing this for 40 years.
I don't call it offense, though. I don't say that that's what this is. It's not.
I'm trying to be careful not to make it about me. I'm trying to, and that's why I invite the people who have criticism of this, but would be a good overseer of things, I guess you could say. Because I have to walk away from this eventually. I'm going to be a family man here soon, so my time is going to be, very micromanaged when it comes to this. So it's just I just want it to be a platform. I can walk away from it if it gets taken off of Facebook and into the bigger picture, But it's just a thing on the internet. Things come and go. I think. Even with social, it was a good idea at one time, but maybe it really wasn't. But people are running around saying I can't do this at all too. They're freakishly authoritarian. I can't believe you allowed him to say that. Like, seriously, dude? No, I'm not going to remove the comment. That kind of shit happens all the time. And it's just the world we live in now. It's weird. But do you receive a lot of abusive comments, Jeanie, and like just playing at shows or hanging out on the internet?
No.
That's awesome. I don't either. I really don't. I mean, I do occasionally. But how do you usually handle them if you do?
It's never happened.
It's never happened to you?
No.
So what do you think about people who do receive abusive comments?
I question it. I always find that when people are complaining about things, that when I hear the situation, I'm like, that doesn't seem like anything at all. Like it sounds like the person was trying to compliment you or something. You know what I mean? They're like, I was afraid for my life. I was running down.
Almost like they want the person.
It's just like, I didn't know what. I might get raped or something, And I'm just like, I think it's just probably an insecure person trying to give you a compliment. I wouldn't worry about it.
Probably so. Like that video where she's walking down the streets and those guys are saying, "Hey, baby,"
Yeah.
Are we supposed to really get that offended over that?
Yeah.
No.
I don't. I mean, I guess those things have happened to me, but I don't think of that as in any way. I just, it's a compliment as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I'm not worried about it at all.
So that whole as a woman thing.
I hate that. I don't think they can know any, just because someone's female, they probably don't think like I do. Actually, I don't know. I've found a few people that think like me, but it's pretty rare. So that's actually another reason why I was interested in Metalgate, because at least it might be people that actually think about things. They're it's just like, hey, that's not right, and somebody has to stand up. So
that's what I did.
Yeah.
So if I was wrong, I'm sorry. You'll have to forgive me with your social justice and crazy stuff, you'll have to just accept me, right? If you're tolerable people out there. What was that other question we wanted to ask here? It's a good one to go into now. Okay, so what would you like to see happen over the next 5 years, let's say, in heavy metal?
I'd like it to die. The sooner the better. And go underground again. It's just too bloated, too popular, and I think there's a lot of people that are in it that really shouldn't be. They're just trend followers, and I can't wait for the next big trend to come along so they can jump ship.
That warms my stone cold heart there.
How long do you think that'll take?
That I have no idea, but, you know, I'm hoping soon.
That's interesting to me. Because I would think you would want it to, like, dominate the scene. Like, completely dominate it.
No, I think metal's best left for people with true hearts for metal, and I don't like it when it's any bigger than that. I don't like it when, you know, just various hipsters or people that are just there to party or, you know, that kind of thing. They're in there, and, you know, it weakens everything because then you get people supporting people just because they're their friends, or, you know, or journalists supporting artists just because they share an ideology, or, you know, just for reasons other than music, basically. I think if you know, if you have a true heart for metal, you know, you don't care about popularity.
It's like the whole thing with the, oh, this is a female-fronted band, or this band's got black people in it and shit, you know. You like it, they're trying to push it like you should like the band just because of this and not because of the actual quality of music.
Yeah, that's right.
That's a lot to think about. Because, you know, as a musician, aren't you like a professional? Like, don't you want to succeed with it?
You know, that would be a completely different show. But I basically think there used to be such thing as a music industry, and people had a bit of a hope of actually making a living that way. I think it's kind of ridiculous to think that you can do that in this day and age. You can eke out an existence, and I guess you can do that just as well if you're an underground band, like sort of what they call middle class musicians, as being on a big label these days, because big labels don't have the money anymore that they used to. So, you know, it doesn't really affect the little guy so much.
So that makes an interesting comparison, like actually a contrast to Gamergate. Is that Gamergate's trying to like take it to even greater heights, whereas Metalgate seeks to almost bring it down a notch, and another notch, and then resurrect a little bit just so that there can be more metal, and it dies off again a little bit more, just so that it can narrow down to the people who truly care about metal.
That's what I'd like to see.
Okay. That actually makes a little bit more sense. But, I mean, so there's not, you don't want there to be any more big metal bands, like no more Metallicas, no more Megadeths, no more Iron Maidens, Black Sabbath, no more of that.
I wouldn't say that. No, I mean, if a band, you know, is that beloved and it gets that big, I think that's great. But I just think it's more just like it's swamped with crap, you know what I mean? Like, that's another problem I have with, sorry, but the web. It's just that the democracy of it all. Because I'm more of a, you know, I believe more in a meritocracy. So I think it's really hard for the cream to rise to the top when there's so much, well, swill, you know what I mean?
Do you think there's anybody on the planet that is talented enough to discern it enough to let the cream rise to the top by reviewing it? Or do you think that's impossible? like having an objective review process of, is this actually consistently like good metal here? Like, does it follow the? I don't know. It's hard to kind of say what I'm trying to say here, because it shouldn't be like this really strict definition. But metal's metal. Like, it's like something you can point at. It's almost tangible in the music. You can feel it. But at the same time, that artist has to have the freedom to create it. So, do you think anybody could actually help the cream rise to the top by doing something like that?
That is a really good question. I've never thought of that before. I think, yeah, I can't comment on that because that would take a lot of thought.
Yes, it would. I know that I wouldn't be capable of it. Absolutely not. Even just a couple of songs would take hours for me to.
See, I just don't have the ear to actually sit down and analyze it like I've seen some people do. Definitely more educated in the thing and into everything. I just know what sounds I like, what sounds click, and what sounds like metal. Because metal's always had like this element of intricacies, but they have to be interlaid in a certain order and stuff, and it's hard to even explain.
Music is so, like, just take the metal out of it. Music itself is just so, because it's strict, it has to be consistent, it has to have but at the same time it has this weird, you can just weave in and out. Like, there's no, like, there is a pattern, but there's not with music. It's crazy. I love that about music. And it's almost weird that there's an industry around it at all. Like, they trapped it in a bottle, so to speak. And now the genie's out, and what do we do? You know, kind of weird shit situation going on. So something like culture clash with metal is inevitable with the way, just how music works. It can be used to offend people or lull people to sleep, or just going off on a tangent there, sorry.
I don't think you need to be very educated or to be able to articulate, you know, why something's good or bad when it comes to music. I think if you feel it, you know, then it's good. Then it works. So I don't know if we should think that any particular reviewer could, you know, I mean, they might have a taste similar to a lot of people, and so you can follow that person's opinion. But yeah, I don't know if there could be like one arbiter, or, you know, one person who could.
Well,
really
I've heard that people say that, and people that I respect say that music is objective only. Like, there's no subjectivity to it whatsoever, because it can be mathematically explained, blah, blah, blah. But I always ask, can you give me the equation that proves it's good or bad? Because that's just a moral dichotomy there. It's not math at all. So if someone likes something that you think is shit, it's really just their opinion. Like, what's the equation that proves that they're wrong? Does that make sense?
It does.
You know,
It's a lot to think about.
It is a lot to think about, but the overall point is, I would love to see someone be able to provide that equation so that it does help.
I would hate that. I would hate that.
So
If someone could provide that equation, then all you need is a
But
computer.
what if it was true?
And bang, you don't need any more musicians.
What if it was true? Like, if this is true, like,
there would be no need for thought then, and that's where I differ the most.
So do you
I
think
like
it's
to
impossible?
think. Yeah, I do believe it would be impossible to actually come down with one unifying formula to say that this is going to work for all music, just because it removes the thought process. One of the things that really got me into metal, it was one of the cornerstones of the metal philosophy, which is introspection. And if I don't at least get a little bit of that, or some crazy ideas going in my head, or the war going off up there, then usually I tend to either discard it or maybe just listen to it as like background fluff.
Right on. Yeah, I think I agree too that it's probably someone can get really close. I think that there's people talented enough to get really close to that equation, but they can't get, like, they just can't. It's not realistically possible for them to get there. But they can make it feel like they're close to it. I don't know if that makes sense or not. Like they're just really talented at describing music and why it's good or bad. But ultimately, I realize it's just their opinion sometimes. Yeah, it's a lot to think about, but I think it's worth talking about. And Jeanie, if you wanted to stay on, you're more than welcome to.
Oh, well, thank you.
Okay, so you're going to stick around?
Okay.
Are you going to?
Well, I'll try, and then if I have nothing to add, I'll just quietly exit.
Not a problem. Well, I just want to make sure we got through the questions there and had a really interesting discussion, I think.
Well, thanks for having me on anyway.
It's not a problem at all. Like I said earlier, actually, Jim, if you wanted to talk more about the music you just reviewed, I listened to it earlier this week, and it's kind of in the fog. Like everything I thought about, it's kind of in the fog of the week. But Jim had just listened to your music tonight, so I wanted to get, like he had mentioned some of the songs he liked. But is there anything else you wanted to add to that, Jim?
There's not much I could really go on here other than with the song Siege. I just, how much of that was your own lyrics and how much was that Sumerian thing?
Right. A hell of a lot was from the Sumerian text. When I read it, as soon as I read it, I'm like, oh, that's so cool. You know, I could just hear something to go with it almost immediately.
Yeah, because like when I was listening to it, all I could think of was like kicking open someone's door and stabbing them 500 times, taking their stuff and running.
Yeah, it's so real, eh? Like I said, it's 5,000 years old or whatever, but when I read it, I'm like, yeah!
What's the Sumerian text? I want to look that up later.
A lot of the lyrics for Siege, I actually got from a translation of ancient Sumerian writings that had just been translated that year. So.
Do you happen to know the name of it?
What's that?
Do you happen to know the name of the text? Like, did they name it? Is that like a tablet or something?
I don't.
I remember hearing something about
might
that.
be under from like King of Akkad or something, but yeah, I'm not sure. I don't remember.
With the song, they had a link to the text itself, or something supporting it at least.
All right, cool. I'll definitely check into that. I love that element of metal, reaching back into early history and writing songs about it. Hell yeah, I like that.
What I thought was just so cool, like I said, is when I read it, I just completely felt it, like, you know, like it's exactly how I feel now. I'm sure that people were no different back then, you know. So I thought it'd be cool. I felt like it was a little resurrection.
Well, I really dug that part of it. It was just like loot, pillage, go.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, did you I don't know if this is too much to ask, but Spotify, is it easy for artists to put their work up on there and work with them? Like,
no. What I did is I just worked with one company, so that's CD Baby. Okay. And then you pay them like $20 or something like that, and then they actually release your music to all the different digital download sites.
Oh.
So they do it all on your behalf. Like, you don't actually deal with
That's
Spotify.
A shame. That's a shame. I was hoping that, because I'd read their Spotify's little advertisement for musicians, and I thought, well, that's a good idea. At least they'll see something. but knowing that it's like a hands-off approach for the artist, that you know,
You don't make money from that kind of. Well, Taylor Swift does, but most people, like, I haven't got my millionth of a cent in the mail yet, anyways.
right. I think that if you were able to push it yourself, more hands-on, I think that artists could change that a little bit. Like,
Yeah, people always buy CDs at gigs, but that's the problem. There's only like 100 people there or whatever, so kind of pays for your gas.
I mean, I guess I understand like a CD printing company being involved, but they shouldn't be the ones like in charge of your public like presentation. I don't know. It's just the way I feel about it.
Well, it has to deal with management. I mean, I have a little bit of experience doing college TV, although I never got paid for that. Maybe a free lunch out of it, but it's all about like who you get to distribute your stuff, how much you get in your cut, and a lot of times you're just doing stuff for exposure.
Oh yeah, I hear that a lot from different kinds of artists that you'll get exposure out of this, but it never really goes anywhere, and it's like almost like a basic frustration for any artist who's trying to get somewhere with their material.
Yeah, well, I'm just not sure there's really anywhere to get. So,
well, to me, I would imagine it being just finding an audience, and being able to keep doing it, through the years or whatever.
Yep.
Just enough resources to keep going, right? I mean.
Yeah, well, I chose to go this route. Like, actually, when I first wrote the songs and I had a demo, I got to talk to someone from a record company, and he was extremely excited about it. He was like, this is great. Like, call me when you get a band. Like, he would be totally behind, supporting my stuff, right? But he even said, basically you become a slave.
Right.
And they tell you what you do, you know what I mean? So you don't have control anymore. You don't have control over your own life almost, right, when you're signed to a label. So I thought really hard about that. And I thought, well, supposedly, you can do it yourself. Anything they do, you can do if you put the time and effort into it, supposedly.
Man, that's a lot of work. They've got a whole fucking team. They've got a whole department dedicated to it, and you're just.
That's right. It's just basically, I thought, well, if people like the music, then they'll like it, so put it out there. I think that's
probably the best way to go. Right, because if you're going to take off to like Metallica levels, it's just going to happen. It's either going to hit or it's not. And if it doesn't, that doesn't mean give up. It just means it's not Metallica. It doesn't. It's not an insult, really. I don't know. It's an interesting discussion.
Well, I write kind of more of a niche style, so I'd be like extremely surprised if it took over the world like Metalocalypse. But I don't write for other people. That's the point. Like, I'm writing precisely what I feel like writing, and that's when you listen to one of my songs, you're just listening to one of my thoughts or feelings. And that's why I do it. I mean, I have actually written other forms of music for other reasons. Just if somebody needed a piece of music for something, like I wrote music for a musical play, stuff like that. I'm capable of doing it, but that's not the expression of my own soul. So, I chose not to do that. I also met with producers that were willing to get behind me and treat me as a puppet. So, I mean, I could have been maybe like the next, I don't know, Avril Lavigne, that kind of thing, you know what I mean? but I absolutely refuse to consider something like that because that's not the truth. And I guess I've just always been kind of a crusader for truth and justice. I don't know. I don't think there's a point in putting albums out if your heart's not in it.
I absolutely agree with that.
Exactly.
Absolutely. I'm not going to complain though someone makes a big, it's off either. I'll be happy to. I'm not against success. I'm saying. Speaking of all this,
Hello? Hello? Did I just lose everyone? Hello?
Yeah.
Okay, I think we just lost them.
Hmm. All right, let's talk about Scott.
Okay, yeah. He had more of the flow chart what the heck we were doing too, so
Oh no.
so no, I'm totally stumbling in the dark here.
There's this picture.
Wait, did he come back?
am I back?
Yep.
You're back. Okay.
What the fuck, internet? Goddamn CIA. God damn it. Okay, so disaster. I'm just gonna start over. I'm just gonna pretend like that didn't happen. I just wanted to give a shout out to Andrés Cabrera, his band Swordcery. We'll have an interview up on Death Metal Underground shortly, or tonight or tomorrow. I'm not sure. Just make sure to check it out. I'll provide the link after the video. He's been around. He's had some interesting things to say around, well, at least to the group. Let's say midway, about a month and a half ago. And he's got some interesting tastes. He shares a similar taste with me with like kind of doom, kind of, I don't know, kind of almost Black Sabbath-y kind of doom. The Sword, in a modern text, or modern perspective. But yeah, anyways, check him out, man. He's helped a lot, helped me go through a lot of things, really kind of moral support too. So just wanted to give him a shout out. So we just want to move on from there.
Sure. Hello? Oh, don't tell me it happened again. And it happened again. This is fun. Okay, let's see if I can dig up what the notes were. This is just a beautiful day. Oh boy. Okay, there's that, there's that. We covered every topic except for one I actually need them for. Okay. That's wonderful. Are you back? Are you back now?
I'm actually pretty disheartened with this. That's just ridiculous. I think it's gonna happen again. Shit's just going haywire over here.
Did you want to call it a night then, or?
Let's try one more time. Try to make it through here. If it happens again, then we'll call it a night. But I already got the shout out twice now. So Andres, I hope that helps you out, buddy. So something me and Jim were talking about before we started was this. If you look through history of heavy metal. There's been kind of a mainstream thing, hardcore underground thing going on, and every once in a while they agree on shit. So can we just kind of go into some examples of that, maybe? Where the two sides finally say, hey, yeah, that's cool.
Mostly it was pretty early. Most examples I got were like, at least from my time period, it was like the older Metallica, the older Megadeth. That's where they kind of agreed and stuff. Actually, a lot of stuff that it seemed like where they would agree came out on the Headbangers Ball. They could also see where they disagreed a lot, because that kind of started to fade away as they started including more alt rock, because grunge kind of sounded all like alt rock, and in my opinion it is alt rock, and that started to come into the Headbangers Ball, and you could see, like, you know, the viewerships kind of start to wane whenever that started to intrude real bad.
So the viewership from the hardcore people waned, or just in general?
From more the hardcore, like, metalheads, those that were into it. I mean, I know, like, I used to religiously watch it when I first got into metal. Every Saturday, just fucking stay at a friend's house and steal their parents' beer and just jam out this stuff. But then they started, like, incorporating more and more, like, really weak shit. Started fiddling with the grunge. Started putting in, like, alt rock. And whenever alt rock started hitting the In the Pit segment, which was like what they dedicated to, like, the hardcore, the true underground hardcore people, that's whenever I kind of stopped watching.
So do you think it would be better if someone like HBO was kind of the progenitors of heavy metal when it comes to presenting it to a massive audience, instead of a regular cable where they're got more limitations?
Oh, fuck no. Oh, fuck no. Just because they'd be focused on trying to drive ratings, and that's partly why they fucking started including more alt rock and shit. I mean, at the time, I was fucking 16 to 18 years old whenever I was watching the Ball, and, like, you know, at the time I thought it was this huge betrayal, but I look back with a bit more knowledge how business works, and they were just trying to generate ratings by doing that. So...
Well, I mean, you want a little bit of ratings if you're a band. I mean, you can't just make music. I mean, you can. Of course, I sit and play my guitar for no fucking reason other than to please myself. But I mean, you have to have some kind of hope that somebody identifies with it.
You see, the thing is, trying to reach an audience is different than being purely ratings driven.
Oh, yeah.
And that's how even the fucking paid TV stations, they are all ratings driven.
Sure.
They will only play what they know is going to make them money.
Well,
and they want to make money hand over fist. You don't have any real small independent stations anymore.
Yeah, HBO is probably a bad example. My point was a better presenter. I got someone who could truly handle it a little bit better. I don't know if that's even possible. I mean,
well, that's essentially the internet, but unfortunately that's got a glut of, like, horrible shit on it.
Well, like the shit we're on right now keeps kicking me off.
That's about it.
Well, yeah, I mean, eventually the internet's going to come under regulations and shit, too. So, I mean, there's always that. And that's, I think, where heavy metal's important, even if it's just a small underground scene. It's a voice of, maybe that's not right. You know, maybe we shouldn't be fucking doing this. It challenges this status quo mentality. I always play the devil's advocate because I know that there's certain situations where something makes sense and everybody should probably do it. I get that. But a lot of times it's taken to this really crazy level where you're calling police on people for disagreeing with you. So, I don't know.
Getting back to topic here, I mean, the mainstream agreeing with, like, the old hardcores is, like, fucking very rare these days. Back in the day, it was because there were very few bands that could actually rise up because they had the fandoms to do so, and that's what got them the exposure they needed to get on TV and all that. And that's kind of like what drove it. And occasionally, once in a while, they'd find someone that no one heard of that actually caught on, you know.
Right, right. So it's
But
basically
they're not
it caught on because of their music.
But as of these days, I mean, hell, even back then, they stopped taking those kinds of risks and just stuck with what made them money.
Hair
And
metal.
that's where the big bullshit comes in, because it's just like fucking puppets talking.
Glam metal and shit, yeah. I mean, I'll respect any musician, but I can't get into some music. And I know there's hair metal fans out there, but I just can't do it. I can't do it. I tried. It's just too ridiculous. I can't. That's probably one of the more infamous examples of where hardcore and mainstream just went completely opposite directions. Is when hair metal came out.
Yeah, that's about it. Even though I do like some of that shit, it's like, it's just fluff for me, though. It's just stuff I'd put on in the background, or
Sure.
fucking maybe like if I was partying with a mixed crowd that I didn't think could fucking handle what I usually listen to.
Sure.
Back in the day, that was not the way I did things.
Yeah, you're gonna listen to my heavy hardcore shit. Goddammit, yeah. I still do that to people on occasion. It pisses them off every time.
I mean, maybe if maybe like now I'm a bit more considerate with family. Well, fucking when it comes to random people, if you're coming over to my place, I'd probably just plop on my typical like death metal and just say fuck it. If you don't like it, then fuck you.
Yes. Yeah, family's gonna just completely take over here soon. So part of this podcast is to keep reminding people that once I go, this might go. I mean, it just depends on where everyone else takes it. So it's not about me. Go take this thing and run with it. So,
You have any thoughts on this, Jeanie?
It sounds like you're sort of talking about one of the time periods I would call death. You know, it was like, I think what happened is with video, which came out in, I don't know what, like, I don't know, 1984 or something. I was just guessing, but you know what I mean? It became a thing in the 80s. Then people were getting their videos played just because they are considered attractive to the opposite sex or whatever. So, like, maybe some of the first bands that were on there they got that far because their music was that good. But then the glut came. And then all of a sudden, there's all these bands that just suck, but they looked good. And so, you know, that's almost what's happening again right now. And like I said, this happens periodically in metal, like where a lot of bands are getting a lot of attention that I don't think it's deserved. Like, I don't think the attention is necessarily about the music, but it's for other reasons. And, you know, that's when metal needs to die. Or I should say, the mainstream, you know.
Yeah, it just seems all cyclic.
Yeah.
Like, I've seen shit like this before happen again and again, and it's just like, okay,
yeah,
let's go for the ride.
You think that's what causes some of the apathy, like where it just kind of starts waning off into the mainstream? It's like, well, there it goes. You know, like, there's nothing I can do about it. There it goes. And now they're cheering for it. It sucks. You know, I understand. You know, I'm not the big metalhead here, though. I'm the outsider. So.
Well, I know apathy played a part in like fucking me just fucking not giving a shit about a lot of things and not really getting into too many new bands, actually. Trying to look for many, just trying to go by word of mouth from friends and shit that would bump into things, you know. Because I fucking abandoned like just about all the fucking media there was for metalheads for quite some time. And just now I'm starting to bump into sites that actually seem to have a little bit of merit, so I actually pay them a little bit more heed. But everything was just like, so, you know, let's suck this person's ass or suck that person's balls, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Jeanie was saying, they promote their friends and yada yada yada.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I guess it'd be a good time to go on to the next thing. Jim was doing some research here, brought something back. I remember when this happened, the Columbine shooting, and they scapegoated heavy metal, but in particular Marilyn Manson. And I want to kind of explore this. This probably isn't the only time this has happened. There's probably other examples, but we kind of just focus on this. What did you pull up for us, Jim?
Just pretty much the same facts everyone's got. 12 people died, 21 additional people were injured. Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold, I always mess up that name, went on the shooting rampage and did that. And then, the media just ran with the story, running sensationalist bullshit after sensationalist bullshit until we got the blame on, fucking everything. Interesting retrospects is the fact that there was a bit of a debate whether bullying was revenge for bullying was part of it, but someone had noted that one of the shooters was actually an active bully at times, so that might not have been it. There's one of the more popular theories is psychopathy and depression. Pretty much, essentially what you have is a psycho and a follower kind of mentality there, and considering that they were both equal parts shooting people, I really don't think that one was necessarily following the other in that. I think they were just both in cahoots by the looks of everything.
So the question then is, how much did metal play into this?
That was one of the huge things that got a lot of press. There was an attempt to ban Manson. I mean,
how easy of a target is how unbelievably perfect of an excuse to avoid taking responsibility for this. It's heavy metal's fault. When I heard that even as a kid, I was like, are you fucking kidding me? You think these people killed 12 people because of Marilyn Manson?
And Marilyn Manson, to me, has always been, more on the... Well, I always fucking mock him saying that he's fucking pop rock. Just because it's just too, cotton candy for me. I really just can't get into it that much. Especially how much my one friend burns me out on him. God.
Mm-hmm. But, whether or not I don't really like his music either. But I had this... I hated that he kind of shriveled up and went away because of this. But even though he's probably definitely more mainstream, even that was too much for society to handle. Even a lollipop version of heavy metal seemed to scare the fucking pants off these people.
Well, one interesting note is that the two shooters were not Marilyn Manson fans. They were more into the Cam FDM, Rammstein. They really didn't care for Manson.
That's really crazy. That's interesting.
But at the time, no one really knew. Well, Cam FDM had been around for a while, and that was actually on MTV back in the day whenever I was younger. So it's kind of just one of those things that, I don't know exactly why they didn't go with that, because they actually liked that. I guess it's because Marilyn Manson was the hot new item at the time.
Exactly. He was the facsimile of heavy metal that was digestible for everyone.
He was the most recognizable.
Right. He was the... I don't mean to say icon as in everyone respected him. He was the painting that society wanted to be painted to represent heavy metal. And they burned him to the ground. And the kids weren't even into him. Didn't he have a lot to say about this shit, too? Didn't he write articles for magazines and shit over this?
Oh, yeah, I read it. I just can't remember any good quotes from it at the moment. But I know he made a few good points there. Props due where they're due.
Absolutely. Music aside, this is a human being that's put in this situation. He has his own perspective. And I kind of remember him like bringing up religion, like we live in a world where a lot of people worship a half-naked man hung up on a cross. Like it's almost like a sexual kind of idolatry kind of thing going on. It's really led to a lot of violence in the world. But to blame him for everything instead of taking responsibility for your beliefs and things, I think that was one of his more interesting points.
I mean, a lot of the things that go up with this whole thing, too, is the fact that a lot of people have taken it and still to this day try to say that there was a targeted shooting when no, this was just a failed bomb attempt. They actually just wanted to hurt everyone, and since the bombs didn't go off the way they wanted them to, they decided to take matters in their hands and start shooting.
And instead of looking at their life, we're going to blame Marilyn Manson. I mean, that's the whole story. They're scapegoating a whole genre of entertainment for people.
And if you even read into the whole entire thing where people actually try to look at them as people and what their actual motivations were, there have been so many narratives pushed, like I said, the bullying before, the psychopath and follower kind of scenario, and none of them really paint a real picture if you actually go over the material.
At the same time, though, at least that stuff makes a little bit more sense to me than pointing at entertainment.
Yeah, exactly. It's
right.
Just like no matter what you're trying to push, like one thing is the devil or something else, and nothing actually adds up.
Right. So, Jeanie, do you have anything to say?
Oh, I was just wondering if we knew if one or both of them might have been on antidepressants.
I'm not sure.
I know one was on, I think one was in counseling. I'm not sure if they were actually on depressants. They both had been in kind of juvenile rehab program of sorts because of a previous scuff with the law. So they were both definitely on record.
Yeah, just, at that age, and if they happen to be taking some kind of, psychotropic drug, that's been correlated with, murder and suicide.
See, whenever they started actually releasing stuff years ago, I read some of this stuff, and it just looked like to me they just wanted to be the next big shit on campus. This was going to be their legacy. They were just going to fucking blow up a bunch of people and fucking go down in newspapers and history.
So if nothing else, we're just going to at least make the papers for a couple weeks.
Yeah, and the way that the media ran with it, they got what they wanted.
Yeah, it's almost like they took it and was able to use it to silence a certain thing that didn't agree with their policies. And one of those things being aggressive music that questions their agenda.
Yeah, pretty much.
Even on a mainstream level with Marilyn Manson, even on a lollipops level, they didn't want even that to exist. And that to me is insanity. It's just like burning video games, censoring video games. It's on the same exact level to me.
I mean, people are so obsessed with a quick fix solution to everything. They want things explained in an easily explainable, method. Monkey see, monkey do. Doesn't get much more simple than that. Oh, there's hidden messages in this thing, backwards messages. Oh, people commit suicide, blah, 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 blah. And no one really wants to get to the crux of the problem.
Right. So say music could lead someone to kill themselves. It's still their decision to me.
And there's there's almost always underlying problems which correlate, and it's not just the music or what they're seeing. They're not just trying to reenact something they saw on TV. There's something else going on in their head that makes it appealing.
Right. Right. if you notice someone who's into really extremely horrible shit, maybe you want to ask them, like, what is this, instead of judging them and acting like they're going to be the next school shooter,
And you see that there is another problem with this whole thing, which is about a few months to a year or so, I forget exact time frame, but before the shooting, they were both grounded from their computers and shit. They weren't allowed computer access, and this is whenever one of them, I think Dylan, started plotting the whole entire school bombing because they didn't have a vent. They didn't have their video games. They didn't really have their music. No vent for them to actually vent whatever frustrations they had, so they started to plot this thing.
And the mainstream, I guess that's just a really broad way to explain what I'm about to say, but it's almost like there's this desire to get a rise out of it. Like, it's really seems sadistic to me to ban an outlet like that for people. Like, you're reaping what you sow, almost. Like, you almost had it coming because you handled it so poorly. Like, you shouldn't take away these aggressive video games or music. You should let them get it out on that level so that it doesn't rise to the level where people start getting fucking shot and shit.
I mean, to correlate some of my feelings on shit, it's like whenever I'm sitting there and I'm forced to listen to modern country music for a length of time, I start really getting pissed off at the fucking world and just want to fucking, pummel something, if not fucking brutally murder it. I just cannot stand country music, but you get me. But aside from some moshing and headbanging, fucking, I listen to thrash or death metal and I totally mellow out.
Yeah, I shared that country song on there just to see. It was just a shit post to see what would happen. And Jim comes along, I'm gonna murder a squirrel. Yeah, that's funny. The country music is totally alien to me. It sounds like alien music to me most of the time.
Well, they claim it's songs about real life. Fucking my mother loves this shit. So if I ever have to ride with her anywhere, I try to get her to turn on like at least a classic rock station or something so I don't go fucking weird in my mind. Fuck. And I had to grow up with this shit, man.
So, just to entertain the thought, what does country music actually do to people? Does it make them more stupid?
Music is just a reflection of what's already there.
Honestly, my reaction to it's not going to be everyone's reaction to it because I already know my mind's deviant way off out there somewhere. But, with me, it's like there was this one song I heard where this guy's got like a fucking girlfriend, a fucking wife, and a fucking lover, and he still has a one-night stand. And I'm just thinking in the back of my head, dude, if you fucking want it, why don't you just fucking bring up swinging with the missus? That would fucking, annihilate any chances that she's going to key up your truck or blow it up or whatever, in revenge. Just fucking say, hey, why don't we try swinging?
You never know,
Yeah, exactly.
It's 2015, Country music. Yeah, they're always singing about. It's really strange to me because a lot of the lyrics are really dark. Like in some of the country songs, like to the point where it's like, is this motherfucker metal? Like, he just sounds stupid. Like, what the fuck's going on here? Like Johnny Cash.
See, I've never actually thought that because, I mean, oh fuck.
Well,
they try to go after something that sounds like it's real life, but like it is such an ignorant life where they're not even considering their own fucking actions. Like, how am I relating to this situation? Is this going to benefit me? You're gonna fucking spend 12 years in jail for what?
Right. It's so
I mean, if I'm gonna spend jail time, there's gotta be something definitely worth it. Like you fucking raped one of my kids. I'll fucking definitely spend jail time over that. You know, but fucking someone cheating on me? Oh, fuck you. I'll just go find someone else to bone. I don't care.
Right.
It's like music for people who have absolutely no introspection.
Right.
Yeah.
That one I posted was "A Country Boy Can Survive," and basically all he was saying is, "I grew up in a small town and learned how to do country shit, and you didn't." It's like, okay, dude, cool. But he's all about it. Like it's like a way of life, and to me, it's like watching a bunch of androids walking around. It's really creepy almost.
Oh hell, it's like my aunt fucking my mom crashes at my aunt's along with my sister. You know, they kind of all crash there because convenience. And my aunt's always bitching about my mother's selection of music. and like, whenever I go, and I actually like what my aunt plays because she gets this really funky, like, some of these contemporary things that are like orchestrated and shit, and Tibetan monks chanting, and you know, she'll plop on the fucking classical music station, you know, and you know, I could, you know, stand that, you know, I love a lot of that, but then it's like, you know, I go riding with my mom anywhere, and it's, you know, fucking that bullshit. Oh my god, if I ever have to ride with my sister somewhere in her car, oh fuck. It is nothing but like fucking Christian rock and Christian this and Christian that.
I was gonna say the only thing worse is it was like a Christian country station.
She hasn't gotten into Christian country. Thank God it's not that bad. But it's fucking bad.
Christian anything, like Christian rock, Christian metal, always just brought a little smile on my face because it's like, oh.
I actually prefer it if she's got the station tuned in whenever they're doing like a fucking sermon, because you know, sometimes you get one of those really entertaining hellfire and brimstone preachers on there that's just like,
oh my God,
I can totally relate to this. I'm so going to hell. Yeah, let me hear it. Let me hear it.
One of the first times I met, when I first met my current girlfriend, I made her listen to one of those. We just started cracking up laughing hearing this dude was preaching. It was awesome, though. I gotta admit, like, goddamn, you're a sleazeball, man, because there's no way you believe what you just said.
Oh, hell, back whenever I was a teenage snot with my friends, we tried to get a band going. Never had a drummer, but whenever we tried to record a demo tape, we recorded it on one of those religious tapes. Then we stopped the song, play the tape some, and then record another one, so there was a little bit of that sermon in there, and there was no context to it. It was fucked up. Did I mention we were on drugs? I think I should. Yeah, we were on a lot of drugs back
then. All right, enough with the country shit. What else did we have here? I think we plowed through everything there. Unless there's anything to revisit. I mean, we still got 20 minutes if you want to go. I mean, anybody else got anything they want to talk about?
I just pretty much said all I needed to.
Jeanie?
I'm good.
You're good? All right. Well, I'm good too. So, tangents, everything tonight. It was fun hanging out. Guess we'll be back with episode 4 hopefully in a week. All right. Thanks a lot for everybody. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Later.